Starting in Ethiopia, Central Africa, Mali, and Chad are the worst places to be born a girl. There are about 700 million girls around the world that are forced to get married before the age of 18. They are getting forced to be married by their parents and other family members and their society. It makes the women feel very uncomfortable, upset, and unable to do the things that they would like to do. In the next clip, there will be a man and a woman talking about how the young marriages worked and what all happened when you were a young girl who was being forced to get married.
Well, initially, girls who attained the age of 14 were taken out of school for early marriages, but since the program exists, this has stopped drastically.
The study ranks 144 countries on its treatment of girls. Countries in sub-Saharan Africa were rated the worst countries for girls. According to the NGO, child marriages deprives girls of an education and increases the risk of domestic violence.
One barrier in particular that we're really zeroing in on in this campaign is child marriage, because we believe that child marriage really has a multiplier effect. If you tackle child marriage, you unlock a lot of the obstacles that prevent girls from going to school and staying in school. You reduce the risks to girls of becoming pregnant in adolescence, the risks that poses to both them and to their babies, and you reduce the risk of them being exposed to violence in and around the home.
Next is a story about a girl named Melka who lives in northern Ethiopia and will share her story about when she refused to get married as only 14 years old.
This is Melka. She lives in northern Ethiopia, and her story is far too common. At the age of 14, she was forced into an arranged marriage.
In Ethiopia, 1 in 5 girls gets married before the age of 15. The reason is really financial hardships. The family feels like they need to send a girl off to another man's home so that he can take care of her.
But when girls like Melka refuse to marry, they suffer.
Without my consent, my parents forced me to get married. I said I do not want to go. And when I refused to go, my parents beat me.
On her wedding night, Melka ended up in the hospital. Authorities got involved and she was sent back to her family. Her mother says she regrets forcing Melka to marry, believing they both would have been better off if Melka had continued her education. Now Melka is working to prevent this from happening to other girls. She spends her free time at the local primary school, teaching them about the dangers of early marriage and how they can make a better life for themselves by staying in school. Women like Melka want girls in Ethiopia to know they have a choice and they are not alone.
One day she's a child, the next she's a wife.
These young girls getting forced to leave their homes to get married lose their childhood and their chance of education throughout their whole entire life. All of these young girls face painful childbirth.
And all too often, the brides come from here, the local school. Young girls like Beasley.
I want to be so many things when I grow up. I want to be a doctor so I can help people. I want to study. I want to become someone big when I grow up.
But today is her last day of childhood. Tomorrow, Beasley is marrying an older man that she's only met once. Her groom is 25, Beasley is just 13. Under Bangladeshi law, the wedding will be illegal.
She explains how she did not want to get married so early, and she did not want to get married to such an old man when she was only so young. She explains she is only getting married under one condition, and that is because she wants to further on her studies and go to school and get a further education. To become a bride, you have to unbraid your hair and put your hair into a very specific knot. That is a symbol of a bride. After her head is covered, she looks into the mirror and realizes that she is now a bride. She will have to marry an older man, live with him, and start a life. She is so upset that she will have to leave her family. She then explains how she does not want to leave her home and her family. She does not want her childhood to be over. She wants to go to school and do everything that a child should do. Now, outside, there will be a ceremony dedicated to her as she becomes the new bride and is now practically a woman in her family.
Then her aunts bless her with oil and water. Village elders only gave the go-ahead for Beasley to marry one day ago. She didn't have time to tell her friends at school. She's playing the role that's expected of her in Bangladeshi society, maintaining family honor by marrying young. The whole community is here, but no one seems concerned about what Beasley wants, or that her marriage will be against the law.
Here is another story about a young mother and a young bride struggling with her new transition into life.
It's hard. I'm learning how to be a mother. Having a kid is so tough. My milk isn't enough, so the baby cries. When I was giving birth, the doctor wanted to do a C-section, but my husband said no. The doctor said, how can I even have a baby because I was married so young? I have nothing in my body.
Majeda says her husband is often violent and beat her when she was pregnant.
He beats me with his hands on my back. When he beats me, I feel sad.
Dr. Beatrice Berger is a doctor at Bangladesh's only clinic dealing with fistula, a complication during birth that causes the reproductive organs, rectum, and bladder to split.
This condition leaves the girls incontinent in a ton of pain, and they feel like outcasts in their community.
It's really hard to live near a patient who's always full of urine. It's like, honestly, so when we see them, it's really hard to tolerate the smell. The worst case would be they die. I mean, many are dying.
Anjuara is one of Dr. Berger's patients. She's been suffering fistula for 9 years.
খুব কষ্ট করছি 9টা বছর কষ্ট করার পরে এই যে এনে
খাওয়ার কোনো সমস্যা নেই, কোনো বমি ভাব কিছু নাই। বলছেন ক্লাস 5 এর পর বিয়ে, এটা মানে 13-14 এরকম, তারপর 2টা বাচ্চা হয়েছে না।
Anjuara has just had an operation that will stop her living a life of shame.
It's just very amazing to have the chance to help them in this situation, and then to see them when they are dry. Like now she got operated yesterday, and she spent, after many years, she spent a dry night. So that's so amazing for her.